are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Friday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you, as always, by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartley with you. Ty Bartel will be here very soon as we have this great Friday. We love Fridays. There are our opportunity to not only recap the week that was, but also give you a nice little preview of not just tonight, but the weekend ahead. We have a big weekend on YSN. Can't wait for it. But it's going to be a great show. Ty Bartel coming up very soon as he'll talk about his game last night. He was in a really big one, Western Reserve versus Waterloo. Can't wait to hear his perspective on how that game went down. But without further ado, let's go into the scores from last night as we enter into this Friday. And we will start down with Akron Hoban, who, hey, guess what? They are now a YSN member school. I am so happy to be saying that, and we are so excited that Akron Hoban is now an official member of our YSN family. They have the first win under their belt as a YSN member team. Their girls won 83-54 last night over Lutheran East. And then we have LeBray going to overtime, beating Newton Falls 43-40. Big win for the Vikings in OT. South Range had a slow start against Jefferson. I was at this game. I can talk about it a little bit more educatedly. Slow start for South Range, definitely. They had 7 days off. You could tell there was some rust there. Jefferson took full advantage of it. They came out very aggressive. They wanted to win this game. You could tell that. They led 7-5 after one quarter. And then after South Range tied up pretty quickly out of the second quarter, Jefferson went down, hit a three from Tatum Bordeaux, a big shot from the wing. And Jefferson took a 10-7 lead. And then from that point on, it was really the Raiders game. The Raiders ended the second quarter, almost in the second half. The Raiders ended the first half, second quarter, on a 7-0 run to take a 14-10 lead into halftime. And their run continued into the third quarter. And by the time it was over, they were up by double digits. And Jefferson just did not have enough strength to come back from that. South Range's defense really, really locked down from that point too. Since Jefferson scored 10 in the second quarter, fairly early in the second quarter, they only scored 11 the rest of the way. So South Range's defense really locked down. They won the third quarter 19-3, and they were in control from that point on. And you'll look at it, and it was just one of those things where, like I said, I think it took South Range about a quarter to kind of shake off the rust. You have 7 days off. It's hard to simulate practice and simulate the game speed in practice. So took about a quarter to wake up a little bit, especially on the offensive side. But when they did, they kind of proved that they're starting to put things together. We talked to some players afterwards. They're starting to believe in each other. They're starting to really come together as a team. They're starting to come together as a unit. Coach Fischel, that's the one thing he took away from last night in his post-game interview. He said that this team have always been, friends. They've always been close, but now they're starting to become that unified group of players that are all working towards one goal. And he said that over the stretch of the season, and especially now as we get into January, that's one of the things that he's seeing that really give him signs for positivity out of the South Range team. They're coming together as a unit, and they have a big 2 games next. They have a non-conference tune-up on Saturday at 12:30 as they go into the jungle and face old rival Springfield. And then they'll come off of that one, which is a win-win. I've talked about these non-conference games in the middle of January at length. If you lose them, it has nothing to do with your conference. It really doesn't hurt you. If you win, it gives you a big momentum boost. So really for both Springfield and South Range, win-win opportunity on Saturday. It's all about how you use it. And then South Range will go after that Saturday game and go into Poland on Monday. So if they have any hopes of getting back in the NE8 race, it starts on Monday. They got to win against Poland. They can't afford another loss. Right now, they're 2 games back from Struthers and Poland, but they have matchups with both of them, and they both have to play each other again. They both have to play Girard again. So South Range definitely has a chance. They're not out of it, but they definitely can't afford another loss. So it's going to be a big conference matchup in Poland on Monday, and I expect that South Range team to play almost like a playoff game, right? Almost like a tournament game. They're desperate. They're gonna throw everything they have at it. They're gonna do whatever it takes to try to get a win in Poland on Monday. And it would actually be, if they were able to do it, it'd be their first program win in Poland as a member of the NE8. The only time South Range had ever beaten Poland and a member of the NE8 was at home. So they have not done it in Poland, and it would be the first time that they would do it if they were able to pull that off. In fact, Poland has, I don't think Poland's lost an NE8 game ever at home. They lost at Girard this year, at Struthers last year, at South Range 2 years ago. Yeah, they've never lost an NE8 game at home. So if that tells you how tough that task is going to be, nothing else will. But that's what South Range has ahead of them, and they'll have a really good Springfield team on Saturday to kind of tune them up a little bit, maybe expose some things that they need to get better at. So who knows? We'll see how that goes on Saturday. It should be a fun one. Speaking of Struthers, who is tied for first place in the NE8 with Poland, 63-26. They got the win over Hubbard. They bounced back from that tough loss over Liberty on Monday and get right back to league action and dominate the Eagles 63-26, the final score there. Girard, who is only 1 game back of the leaders, they had a heck of a scare, 40-38. They get the win over Lakeview, an impressive win for Girard. They go through some adversity. They had 7 days off after that big win over Poland. So maybe riding a little bit too high, maybe looking over Lakeview a little bit, but they survive the upset bid and they stay just 1 game back of the leaders. 40-38, they win over Lakeview. Carrollton gets the win over Beaver Local last night, 68-40. We saw Poland, who we just talked about. They got the win over Niles, 59-37. 8 different Bulldogs scored, so it's a typical balanced offense. When Poland succeeds, they get scores from everybody. They don't have that one player that's going to take over a basketball game. They don't have your 25 points per night player. So when they succeed, when they're having success and they're having, they're winning brand of basketball, it's the games like last night when 8, 9, even sometimes 10 players score. Are they scoring a ton? No, they had 2 players in double figures last night. Sarah Forsyth had 13, Mary Brand had 11, Keenan McDonald had 8, and then a bunch of people had 6, 4, and 2. But you have, 6 players score 2 points, a couple players score 6 here and there, and then you have 2 players that get into double figures. That starts to add up, and when you're playing Poland's defense, if they can add up to 45, most nights they'll beat you. So, not one player, just a slew of players that chip in when they can. That's Poland's mentality. It's been their mentality the last 2 years, and it'll try to continue to be their mentality as they go through the rest of the season. Badger has won 10 games in a row as they take this one over St. John, 58-35. Badger girls are on some kind of streak right now, and it continues after last night's victory. We have Crestview taking care of Champion. This is a big win for Crestview. I told you, Champion's starting to get a little bit healthy. They're definitely a formidable opponent now that they are healthy. So Crestview had to take care of business, and it looks like they did for sure. 50-29 over the Flashes. This is the one that Ty's going to talk about a little bit when he comes on, but I'll give you the score. 40-36, Western Reserve gets revenge over the Vikings as they got swept by them last year and lost the first matchup to them this year as well. So Western Reserve gets that Waterloo monkey off their back, and they beat the Vikings 40-36 last night in a really tightly official game. A couple of players fouled out for both sides. So we'll talk to Ty about how that affected Waterloo's physicality and it affected Western Reserve's physicality. Both teams play up in your face defense, and when you have a referee crew that is playing a tight game, is calling a tight game, calling a lot of fouls, that can hurt teams that want to be physical. Not saying it's a bad refereed game because they did it evenly, but it's just some crews are tight, some crews let you play. It depends on what crew you get. And the one that Western Reserve and Waterloo got was on the tight side. They called a lot of fouls, so that came into play last night. We'll talk to Ty about it in a little bit. Yeah, I got some weird comments from Twitch. I'm not even gonna put them up. But yeah, so 40-36, Western Reserve gets the win over Waterloo. An even closer one for Middle Ridge. They come back to earn the season sweep of McDonald. 40-39, the Rams get the win. This Rams team is taking strides. They're taking the next step as a program. I remember last year they had 2 wins as a team. They had 3 wins 4 games into the season. Have they been able to sustain that kind of success? No, not yet. But they are a much better program than they were last year. They are taking the right steps. And being able to come back from some adversity last night, trailing at halftime by a sizable margin, being able to come back and win by 1, that's kind of proving to you and proving to everybody that Middle Ridge taking the right steps, taking the right strides as a program. And they'll continue to try to do that. It's all about where you are in February, where you are in March, right? So where you are when tournament comes around is the most important thing. And Middle Ridge trying to put some stuff together, and that's a big win for the Rams by 1 over McDonald. Garfield got the win as they returned home. They won 62-17 over Camel. Garfield also was able to honor Laura McCoy before the game for her 1,000th career point. So big emotional night for Garfield as they get the rah-rah and the energy from celebrating a milestone with their home crowd. And the first time they'd been home in a while, and they actually absolutely felt some home cooking. 62-17. The G-Men get the win over Camel. 51-7, Springfield beats Sebring on senior night. They started all 4 seniors as a show of good faith, and all 4 of them played pretty well. J.C. Mullen led the way. Maddie Lesnack had 6. Peyton Clem had double figures. She had 11. And then Emily Gerthing had 6 too. So all 4 seniors played pretty well and contributed quite a bit to their win. 51-7 over Sebring. Like I said earlier, Springfield now has a matchup with South Range on Saturday. Just like what I said for South Range, where it's a win-win for them heading into Poland, it's a win-win for Springfield because they still have a really tough second half of MVAC play coming up where they still have to play Western Reserve, who just beat Waterloo. Still have to play Waterloo again. Still have to play a scrappy Middle Ridge team on the road this time. So Springfield using this game against South Range right in the middle of MVAC play as a little bit of a tune-up, just like they did against Garfield last Saturday. A little bit of a tune-up. If they win, that's awesome. Great for morale. Everyone wants to win. You go into a game, obviously, wanting to win the game. But if you don't win, it doesn't really hurt you that much, right? It's just, it has nothing to do with your conference. You can still go and win a conference. It has nothing to do with your tournament run. It really, if you handle it right, I should say if you handle it right, because some non-conference games, if not handled right, can really kill morale. But if you handle it right, these non-conference games in January should really just be a win-win opportunity for both teams, especially with 2 teams that are in the thick of a conference championship run. Like South Range is in it. They're not in the lead, but they have a chance. Springfield is in first place. So when you have 2 teams like that playing each other in January, should be a win-win for both teams. 46-23, Southern Local gets the win over Wellsville. when that Indians team clicks, they click a lot. They are really good when they're on. They get the win over the Tigers by 23. We saw Rootstown take it to Warren JFK. Rootstown is ranked number 6 in the region for the state of Ohio, in the region of Northeast region. So they're a very, very good basketball team. A little bit under the radar, I know, because they're not a YSN team up there in Rootstown, but still a very good basketball team. They proved it last night. 63-37, they beat Warren JFK. United wins the EOAC game. Stop me when you've heard that before, right? This is kind of getting a little bit redundant. 59-21, the Eagles get the win over Latonia. They continue their dominance of the EOAC. Now this is one that Edgewood, like we talked about, middle of the road non-conference game. Yeah, they gave up 91 points to Chardon. It was a tough night for Edgewood. Their offense did fine, 61 points in a very high-scoring game on the girls' side. But Edgewood falls to Chardon, 91-61. Definitely a game that they came in feeling like they was winnable. They came off a big win of Chagrin Falls over the weekend, who was 12-1, leading the other side of the CVC. And Edgewood might have been looking ahead to Perry a little bit. I mean, not saying Chardon's not a good basketball team. They're good. But my opinion, and I haven't seen both teams live, but from what I can tell from the computer, analytics, the RPI and everything, Chagrin Falls is a better team than Chardon. So Edgewood probably, felt like they could have won this game. It slipped away from them early, and their Chardon's offense just caught fire, right? 91 points. But Edgewood's got to swallow it. They got to handle it right. Like I said, they can't let this put them in the dumps, because they have a big game on Saturday against Perry, which I will be down there for tomorrow. So that'll be pretty much for the conference, first place in the conference. Perry's sitting undefeated in the conference. Edgewood has the one loss to Perry. So big game for Edgewood coming up, but they have to shake off this 91-61 loss to Chardon last night. East Palestine gets the win over Valley Christian, 44-17. Good win for the Bulldogs. This game was close the first time they played down in Valley Christian. So nice to see a tangible sign of evidence that the Bulldogs are making strides this season and making improvements, because you take a team that you really had to compete with, had to go down the stretch with the first time, and then you handle them the second time. 44-17. East Palestine kind of proves that they're growing a lot this season. This one was a big one for Brookfield, 52-42. They get the win over Liberty to stay in that three-way tie for first place of the MVAC, and it knocks Liberty down a little bit more. Liberty was on the heels of those teams with 2 losses. This is the third conference loss for Liberty. It makes them 2 games back. Tough one for the Leopards to take, but Brookfield took advantage of a big second quarter, outscoring the Leopards 17-7 in that frame. Everything else outside of that second quarter was really, really close and even for this team. But unfortunately, in a game like this, against a really good team like Brookfield, one bad quarter can do it for you. They're hard to come back from when you're playing even. Liberty played even the rest of the game, but because of that second quarter, they had to play better than even, right? They had to win by 10 in the next quarter, and they just couldn't do that. Demi Watson and Aaliyah Foster both had good games for Liberty, like they always do. Kaylee Wellman had 16 rebounds. She dominated in the paint. 7 points for her, almost a double-double. She's still averaging a double-double. 7 points, 16 rebounds for Wellman. Katie Logan and Sophia Hook were both in double figures for Brookfield, which you expect. Mackenzie Jumper had a really good day for Brookfield as well. So you look at that Warriors team, like every good team, they have more than one player that can beat you. They're very well balanced, and that's one of the reasons why they were able to come out on top of Liberty 52-42. That does it for your final scores for the night last night. We had a bunch of great stuff on the network, a bunch of great games. We're going to take our break. When we come back, we will talk a little bit more about, what we have going on this weekend and some more recaps of last night's action on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it. Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Perfect timing as we took a commercial break and Ty pops into the show. Ty, how you doing on this wonderful Friday?
I mean, it's pretty well, man. I mean, we've had a lot of great basketball games come down to the wire on the network as of late too. I think, what was it, 2 days ago? We had 3 buzzer beaters that happened.
Yeah, I keep telling, like, it was 2 buzzer beaters and 1 like almost buzzer beater.
Right there.
You're right there, game-winning shot. I called it like a buzzer beater, but then the referees got together and decided to put a second back on the clock. So it was a buzzer beater. Psych, not really.
They pulled it back. They pulled
it back. They ruined my call. But that's okay. It's all good. I actually commended them. That was the South Range Struthers game, because there should have been time left on the clock. Nate Lewis hit the shot where Nicky called the timeout. There should have been time left on the clock. And even though it wasn't a great opportunity with 1 second left, there's not a whole lot you can do. You don't want to rob the Wildcats of that particular opportunity. And they still got a pretty clean shot off from half court. So I gave the referees a lot of props, despite my little joking jabs of coming together. And despite the excitement, South Range was going nuts. So they came together and they got together as a group and made that decision to put 1 second back on the clock, which probably tough to do in an environment like that.
No doubt. And I mean, always respect to our officials when they can come together. I like when they talk things out as a group too, and they make a decision as a whole. Then I'm a lot, even if I agree with it or not, I'm a lot more okay with it when they all talk it over too, and they all discuss the angles and everything that they saw. And you know what, if that's the best decision, the 3 of them, 2 of them, however many is in the crew during that time, come to, that's what you roll with. But I've been saying it, and I mean, I'm primarily out Waterloo and Fitch this season too, but I see a lot of MVAC teams. I see the AAC teams, and I float around a little bit in the open days as well. But I've been saying to everybody I see now at these games that you could see both on the boys and the girls side, these teams are in midseason form now, and you can see it by the way they're playing on the court, just how they're responding. Everything's a little bit sharper. The assignments are a little bit more sound. The scoring's a little bit more flashy, and mid-season basketball form is some of the best basketball you'll get to see.
You're getting all these alley-oops that Fitch is pulling out of their hat. So I see an alley-oop from Fitch every night.
They got those too. I mean, you got 3-point splashers, and I mean, over Abby Major was leading Portage County in threes. I think she still is. Zeta Creaky's been going off for Fitch. Kara English is bullying down low for the girls as well. So it's been a lot of fun basketball as of late, no doubt.
Ty, we were talking about officials now, and before you came on, when I gave out the score of that Waterloo Western Reserve game, I made note that the officials called a tight game. They got some people into foul trouble. It was very evenly called. Both teams got into foul trouble, but it was a game where physical teams like Western Reserve and Waterloo struggle when referee crews want to call a tight game. From your perspective, how much do you think that really impacted the outflow of this game and the way it went? Western Reserve able to get the win last night.
I think it definitely it had a little bit of an effect on it too, because I mean, whether people like to admit it or not, the type of officiating crew that you have definitely directs, maybe not dictates, but it does direct how your game is going to have to be played, both on the offensive and defensive side. And I mean, I think any coach will tell you that if the referees are calling the ticky tack fouls, if they're calling on everything too, then if you're a physical team, you're going to have to back off a little bit. You have to change your defensive and offensive strategies a bit. But when they aren't calling the fouls too, and you can be physical, it allows those teams that are really good in the technical aspect of the game, moving the ball around. Now you can be physical with them a little bit. Now they have to change things up a little bit. I think for Western Reserve last night, what I saw, and the reason I gave Brooke Shantz player of the game, with the foul trouble that Lisa Eichert and Olivia Hughes were getting, and Eichert fouled out with 5 fouls in the fourth. Hughes was playing with 4 dangerously for most of the fourth. Had to start shouldering some weight, and a lot of the team started shouldering some weight in that one as well. On the other side, too, for Waterloo, no one really was in deep foul trouble, but there was still a lot of fouls being called, allowing both teams to get to the free throw line. It was just
English fouled out, right?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Unless she did in like the final seconds too. I don't believe I called her fouling out. I think she was in, but she got into foul trouble like really late though, but not like any realistic time left.
But even foul trouble couldn't control, like, you can see girls start to be a little bit more careful with foul trouble and not take the chances on defense that you would late in the game if you weren't in the foul trouble. So even if you're not fouling out, you have 4 fouls down the stretch. That can really change how you play
absolutely
defensive game, and especially for a player like Karen English, who wants to be physical, wants to push you around. You're playing with four fouls down the stretch of a really important game. You don't want to risk fouling out,
and they're calling
her game.
And they're quick to the whistle, the officiating crew. That means you got to change up your style of game like that much more too, because you're just used to playing a physical brand of defense and a physical brand of offense. You got to change that almost entirely, and then you have 4 fouls on top of it. So I think for Western Reserve, they took advantage of the moments, they took advantage of the situation, and the biggest thing I said too throughout it, they got a lead in the first quarter. Late in the first quarter, and they did not surrender it throughout the whole game. Waterloo came very close. They came within a bucket several times too. They always pushed. They made their runs, but Western Reserve never surrendered that lead back to the Vikings, and I think that was huge and a key for that win for Western Reserve last night.
And what I want to make a point of real quick is when we're talking about the way the referees called the game, it's not a knock on the referee. It's not bad to call a tight game. It was even, right? Both teams were called the same way. That's what you look for.
Thing. Yeah,
I mean, that's the one thing you look for. If you're going to call a physical game, then you better call it both ways.
Kind of same rules apply when you look at umpires, home plate umpires in both baseball, softball. Like strike zones are different. Kind of the same thing in basketball, right? The same thing in football. I mean, as far as like every official is going to be a little bit quicker or maybe not as quick to the whistle too. There's going to be certain things they're looking for. They're going to flag you on certain things. Let's be real. There's holding on almost every play in football, right? So it's what they're picking out, what they're looking for, and everyone's different too. And I think a part of the game is knowing your officials, getting familiar with the officials that you're going to be playing the game with, it because it's roughly the same guys, right? You're always running into the same officials. Be familiar with them. Be familiar with how they call their specific sports too. And I mean, that's about the best you can do because you can't change how they're going to call the game. The best you can do is just be aware of it.
And then here's the thing that I think Waterloo probably could have done a little bit better job of I peeked in every now and then. Halftime, I peeked in on your game because you started before me. What I feel like probably could have been done a little bit better is just adjusting once you know how the referees are calling the game. Like make those adjustments. You can still play good defense without fouling, without even with a tightly called game, you can just change a little bit and play good fundamental defense and stay upright and not be called for fouls. I feel like Waterloo and Western Reserve both, because they both had foul trouble, they both struggled with adjusting to the way the game was being called, because you still saw foul trouble in the fourth quarter and a lot of stoppages of play in the fourth quarter, which shows me that like they couldn't make those adjustments to say, hey, this is how they're calling the game, so we have to make these kind of changes.
those stoppages of play is why you saw such a low scoring affair too. And I even said it on the broadcast last night. When you have those paired with the turnovers that both teams' defenses were creating, all that stop and go, it's really hard to get into a rhythm and a flow offensively too,
Right.
because it's like you're trying to set up something and then it goes out of bounds, and then now you have to inbound it, try to get it all set up again. And I mean, it makes for really long possessions. And I mean, you have to, offensive points are at a premium when that kind of stuff is happening. And Western Reserve was able to take advantage of it. And like I said, it was just impressive that throughout a low scoring affair like that, where both teams were going on runs, I was very impressed that Western Reserve did not surrender the lead after.
Now you look at these standings, guys. Springfield is now sitting pretty with that loss from Waterloo. Now they're 2 games up in the MVAC. They still have to play Waterloo and Western Reserve again, but Springfield's absolutely in the driver's seat now with the undefeated MVAC record. And now Waterloo falls to 2 losses in the MVAC, 6-2 overall.
A lot of seniors on that Springfield squad this year too, and I mean, a lot of them got better. They all got better from last year, and that's the biggest thing. That Springfield Tigers crew, and got to get credit Coach Matese too for what he's done over there already in his time with the Springfield Tigers. But all 4 of those seniors have improved their game so much since last year, and they're all scoring threats, and that was the most impressive thing I've seen. Springfield on the Scarlet side of the MVAC, apart from all the other teams, is that Springfield has the most weapons to beat you, the most legitimate scorers that can go out 10 plus points a night. And I mean, I see 4, sometimes 5 now. I mean, they're teetering on a 5th now that can get you 10 plus points a night.
Peyton Clem had double figures, I think, for the first time this season last night.
So when you have that kind of production from 5 starters too, it makes for a tough time. Not that all these other teams don't. I mean, I've seen three scorers on reserve, 3 on
reserve. Has now that Lindsay Jones is back in the fold,
which is so great to see her back in the fold too after that injury, and I'm so glad to see her back playing basketball again.
When I look at the matchup between Western Reserve and Springfield, which I think is going to come down to, I feel like that's one that Western Reserve looks at and says, we can beat Springfield. But what I think one of the big advantages that Springfield has, and I talked about this with Coach Matese last night, yesterday, I should say, on yesterday's show, they have a height advantage over almost everybody they play.
Yep.
I mean, you look at Maddie Lesnick as a point guard, she could play center for most teams.
What is that we always say too?
Kamika Bungard's big. You can't teach height, and they just have a size advantage over a lot of people.
Yep, and pair the fact that they have height too. It's not just throwing tall girls out on the court too. They're skilled basketball players, and they're skilled ball handlers as well, because you talked about someone like Maddie Lesnick's size to be able to play point guard. Yeah.
Right.
But Jamaica Brungard is not bad when she has the rock in her hand. JC Mullen can definitely handle it when she has it. I mean, it's definitely a team full of scorers and girls that can score one-on-one, but girls that know how to move the ball around really well as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ant, I think the best thing about it, all 3, Reserve, Springfield, and Waterloo, D4 in basketball, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Waterloo jumped down, so they're all D4
so
now.
You might see any combination of these teams square off again.
How about that? Like
10 plus wins too.
That's the ultimate revenge too. If we're talking West Reserve and Waterloo, like, okay, Springfield, you got us. You won the conference, but let's see each other again in the district, and we'll see what happens, right? That'd be the ultimate revenge. Like, okay, you take your conference trophy, we'll take that district medal,
It's definitely going to be interesting with all of them and how they're going to try to match up, if they're going to try to avoid, if they're going to try to go right at each other. I always get excited for tournament time, and this Division 4 is certainly going to be exciting when it comes around this year.
Yeah, and
we're like less than a month away, if I'm not.
I know, that's what's crazy. And all these teams are starting to really put together games in the middle of the January season that are just getting them ready for tournament. I keep saying like I'm beating a dead horse this week. These middle of January non-conference games are really win-wins for both sides, because if you lose, so what? It has nothing to do with your conference. It doesn't hurt you at all in the tournament scope. But if you win, like, what a big morale boost. And even if you lose, it's like, okay, that showed us some stuff. So like this weekend, Springfield's playing South Range. Whoever wins that game, big morale booth because you just beat a really good basketball team. But whoever loses that game, it's like, so what? That just made us better if you handle it right. Now I know some teams don't handle losses in the non-conference the right way, and it can put morale in the toilet. But if you handle the non-conference schedule right, it can really just be a win-win opportunity for the team.
No doubt. And I mean, that's why you have these non-conference games towards the end of the season too. And I think that's why you see a lot of these schools try to mix in the non-conference games instead of just bunching them up. They like to have a mix of them too, because it's always good to test yourself in between these conference games. And the conference games themselves can test your teams. But like, you got to remember also in Division 4 now, if I'm not mistaken, like a team like Lowville, who's 7-8 right now. We all know what Lowville did a year ago when they got into the playoffs
when
too.
to beat Badger.
Yeah, they could start surprising people. Mineral Ridge, are they D4 as well?
Yes.
They're 8-8 too. And Mineral Ridge is one of those wild card teams where, they're like middle of the pack, but I wouldn't want to play the Rams if in a first round matchup.
And really, the Rams are one of the teams in the Scarlet tier that has somebody that can match up with JC Mullen and Olivia Booth, size for size. So who knows?
You never really want to match up with your conference a third time in the season if you can help it too, especially if it's a team that's like middle of the pack. Even like I bet you Springfield doesn't want to see a Mineral Ridge a third time, because you get familiar with your opponents too, and the more familiar you are with each other, the more likelihood you could beat them.
Ty, well, as we're talking about Division 4, Region 13, the RPI rankings just got updated from last night's results. Richmond Heights is 1, Buckeye Center is 2. Those are the two kind of powerhouses in the region. It's Buckeye Central is who Springfield lost to in the regional last year. Springfield's 3. Then you have Western Reserve is 5, Badger is 6, Southern is 7, Waterloo is 8. So don't forget about Southern. Southern is D4. And
Ashley Rhodes too, man. I mean,
they're ranked 7th in the region, RPI wise.
I told you, man. When I heard we got Southern signed on the network last year too, that was like the one
That's
athlete
the first name you played, right?
Yeah, like I mean, you're so excited to be able to cover Ashley Rhodes, but I mean, she's a wrecking crew over there as well. I love all these teams that are getting up there too, and for Springfield to be ranked in the top 4, that's showing some serious respect to the Tigers, and I think they can. They're one of those teams too. Springfield, they're looking really good at this point in the season too, and with the height advantage that they have on a lot of teams, they have the height to make a run. I definitely think they do.
Now, here's the thing. Good thing for Springfield as far as the district is concerned. Only 4 out of the top 10 teams in the region reside in Springfield's district. So they're one of the 4. So only 3 of the other top 10 reside in their own district, and that is Reserve, Badger, and Southern. Waterloo is in the Norwayne district, so they are Division 4, but they're not going to be in our super district of Northeast 1 and 2. So that's going to be interesting to see Waterloo.
If
forget that, they don't have to worry about South. They don't have to worry about
it.
Springfield. But what they do have to worry about in Waterloo is the top seed in the region. Richmond Heights is down there in the district, so Waterloo will have to contend with them if they pick their bracket. But Waterloo will not be in districts 1 and 2, Northeast District 1 and 2.
It'll be interesting to see, because I mean, those teams could still match up, though. I mean, somewhere down the line, they'd obviously have to win a lot. They have to
be in the regionals, yeah.
Yeah, but that'd be interesting, and we're always rooting for all YSN matchups too, so we could potentially see an all YSN.
In fact, I think that this year, because last year Northeast 1 and 2 matched up with Willard in the regional semifinals. I think they flip them every year. So I think this year they'd match up with the Norwayne district. So if Waterloo was able to win that district, Dalton is in that district as well. So Dalton and Richmond Heights are both in Norwayne along with Waterloo. But if Waterloo is able to win that district, then they would probably play the winner of the Northeast district in the regional semis.
Which, I mean, could you imagine if it's 2 conference teams that match up? Like, that's wild if 2 conference teams end up in a regional semi.
And, there actually isn't a super district so because D4 is smaller, they don't break that Norwayne district up into 2 brackets. So there will be 1 bracket with Richmond Heights, Dalton, Waterloo, and other teams in it. And then the other district will be Willard. So, you're going to have to get through Richmond Heights, but if you do, you might see Springfield in the regional semi.
That would be awesome if we got that on YSN too. We got an all conference matchup, a third matchup of the season, and it occurs on that kind of stage. That'd be wild for certain. This tournament's going to be fun when it gets drawn. I mean, basketball is just at its peak right now, where we have a lot of teams playing mid-season form. They're at that point where they could still get better, but they're playing really good basketball right now.
Ty, we had some big news break yesterday that we are very excited about. We have a new member of the YSN family that we are welcoming into the fold. Archbishop Hoban out of Akron. Welcome into the YSN family. I already went over their score. They have the first win under the YSN flag checkmarked. Their girls were able to win last night against Lutheran East. So there you go. Well, first win under the YSN flag. They scored 83 points again. 83 to, I think it was 83 to 59. I'm not looking at the score right now, but hey, welcome to the Knights. What a talented teams.
Yeah.
Their boys are against Cincinnati Taft tonight. So now the boys have their first chance at the first win under the YSN banner.
I threw a welcome to them on the broadcast last night too, and I said, we hope that you like it here, but I have a really good feeling that you guys will too.
I think so. I think they'll like it.
I'm excited for this one too. I know there was whisperings about it under or behind closed doors about this potentially going on for a while, and to see that Hoban's now going to be a member of the family, a big school with a lot of history too, and a lot of historical players that have gone through that program in all kinds of athletics too. Very, very excited to add the Knights to the YSN banner.
What I'm excited about too, Ty, is their success goes beyond athletics. They're obviously a great character school. They have a lot of people that go off to do really great things outside of athletics that graduate from their school. So there's just one of those great places to be a part of, where that when we interview one of those athletes, we're probably interviewing someone that's going to go off to do really good things.
I love that Mark Roth too on all the comments for just talking about the University of Akron.
He wants you to go down there. He's like, hey, you're pretty close. Let's go.
Hey, Zips, you know where to give us a call too. I mean, we are in the neighborhood now.
Pamela Davis, their girls coach, is alumni of Akron. A really good player from the Akron Zips. So maybe that's a connection there.
Akron legend. I mean, in all, I mean, Akron legend through and through.
We own, we own Akron now. So whatever.
all the way up in Portage too. I mean, we're covering all these counties too.
I think that makes 10 counties, Ty.
Yeah,
10 counties that we're now a part of.
That's huge. It's huge. It's huge to hear about too. And I mean, I was listening to the Power Hour the other day a little bit too when I heard the breaking news, and that was obviously really cool to hear about. Also, really cool to hear that DJ and Quinn had the talks of that flag football league potentially going on in the spring too, and I'm excited to see if we can get that off the ground too, and what that's going to look like. I think that would be awesome too, considering we're adding more schools, more counties too to be represented. It should be awesome.
YSN had a very good time in Tampa for flag football, and they're going to have an even better time a little bit later on in February.
Yeah,
go down to Vegas.
Hogan's Hangout. I saw DJ was posting pictures of. That was awesome too.
Let me tell you something.
You got to see the GOAT too. You got to see Brady on the side of Raymond James Stadium too. That's awesome as well. I mean, hey, flag football. We had Baby Gronk on. Baby Gronk was on YSN.
Let's go, Baby Gronk.
So it's fun times going on here with YSN too, and 2 million page views. I think DJ said as well through 16 days of the month we already have. I mean, we were looking for 10 mil. We were looking for 10 mil this year. 16 days in, 2 mil. So, and that all goes back out to you and all the people that just continue to support YSN too, and continue to just give all the love that we're giving these communities right back to us. And I mean, it really wouldn't be done without all the YSN Nation and all the supporters too. So we thank all of you too that continue to support us each and every night.
And let me tell you, we're going to hit the ground running with Akron Hope, and you do not have to wait very long to see what our coverage entails. We already have a story up from your girls' game last night. Find that on ysnlive.com. You're going to be a part of our live scoreboard. Going to be a part of our final score graphics. We're going to get coaches on. We're going to get players on as soon as possible. Like, we are hitting the ground running, and Archbishop Hoban will not have to wait very long to see what it means to be covered by YSN. I promise you that.
Yeah, we're definitely excited too, and of course, that invitation is always open to other schools. I mean, it's a free service too, so you just gotta contact your school's athletic director, let them know to email. What is it? info@ysnlive.com.
Or you can message us on any social media platform,
and we can start those conversations. Always looking to expand the family, right?
Same thing with advertising too. ysnlive.com/advertise. Advertisers are
perfect
always
time
welcome.
to do it as well, right? I mean, January, beginning of the year. I mean, still perfect.
Now you're going to get reached into Akron with the Hoban crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just another avenue for you to get yourselves reached out to. So, perfect timing.
Absolutely, no doubt, no doubt.
Ty, let's go up to what's on tap for the weekend, because we have a big weekend of basketball on the network tonight and tomorrow. Starting with tonight, I am really excited for your matchup tonight. Austintown Fitch going to Ursuline. Talk about athletes on the floor that can do incredible things. I shouted out that Fitch has had alley-oops like every night, but Ursuline, what they're doing with their offense and the talent they have on the offensive side of the ball, 88 points on Tuesday, coming off of their biggest offensive performance of the season. Terrence Pankey went off, and he goes off every night. I mean, what do you see out of this game? I know Ursuline has so many players to compete you. It goes way past Terrence Pankey. What do the Falcons have to do to try to slow down this green machine?
I mean, I think what you're gonna see is just athleticism at the highest form. If there's one team in our coverage map, well, I shouldn't just say one team. If there's a few teams that I could probably pick out that I think can run with Ursuline's offense with how fast it goes.
Right.
Few teams that I could think of. Fitch is one of them. Louisville's another one of them, right? Like there's very few teams that I could think of, but Fitch is one of them. And you look at our power rankings too, our RPI based power rankings. Ursuline's number 1, Fitch is number 5. So it's a 1 versus 5 matchup heading into tonight. So this is going to be a very fun and intriguing matchup. It's going to be in John Jay and Janet Cafaro Gymnasium out there in Ursuline. So that having that historical gym be the host site, we know the Ursuline student section is going to be filled. We know Fitch is going to travel there, especially it being a Friday night game. It's going to be a packed house, I expect. It's going to be a loud gymnasium as well. And honestly, for the athleticism that both these teams have, Terrence Pankey, I can't believe that he got as much better as he did from his junior year into this year. And I mean, I saw him in his junior year, and
that's scary to say because he was good his junior year.
His junior year, I saw this kid. I was like, oh my God, this kid's incredible. He's phenomenal. And it's like, you just thought he might expand on that a little bit, but he pretty much carried that over. No, he's taken that and he's run with it, and he's gotten even better than he was last year, and a lot better at that. I mean, this dude can single-handedly take over ball games now at any given point.
I'll say it. I think he's the best player in the YSN.
He very well could be. And you want to talk early?
If you're just talking pound for pound talent, like next level.
Yeah. You want to talk MVP talks? He might be up there. I mean, Will Aljancic's another one that I'd throw his name in the ring as well. But there's definitely Terrence Pankey. I would definitely think names in the ring. But with Fitch, what they have, and they've really started developing a couple scorers. Both Gianni Maley, the senior, and Marcel Finkley, sophomore, both scored 24 in that win against Copley. And Gianni Maley's one of those point guards too. And I know Terrence usually plays point, so I'm curious if they're going to play each other, because Gianni Maley's one of the fastest point guards I've seen too, as far as getting past defenders. He's got incredible speed with the dribble. So I'm curious to see, because Pankey's one of the best defensive point guards as well. Like, stay on his feet, keep you in front of him throughout 32 minutes of a game if you need him to. Like, he's really athletic and he's really quick on his feet. That's going to be an intriguing matchup if those two go up against each other. But Falcons have really developed a lot of weapons to beat you. So has Ursuline, and that's going to be the thing, is it might not be the scorers we expect tonight, Ant, that go off.
Owens could come up big again.
Yeah, it could become anybody else's game all of a sudden when you have this much talent on both sides.
So when you look at The one downside that they have been a little bit inconsistent this year. There are some games, some results that you kind of scratch your head over. So if Fitch does show up tonight and they play their A game, it should be a really fun one. Austin Town Fitch hitters on 7 o'clock tip. Ty, you will be on the call for that. This one's going to be good too. Canfield at Cheney tonight. Jamie Thompson will be on the call. Canfield is kind of like the other teams that were deep into the football run. They've kind of hit their stride here in mid-January. They're starting to play a lot better than we saw them in December. So Canfield traveling to Cheney should be a really fun one. 7 o'clock tip off. Jamie Thompson will have you covered there.
You know those Canfield boys too. The one thing that they're talking about is that football season. We need revenge on Cheney from that football season. Canfield wants that win. Cheney wants to protect home, so it should be fun.
Crestview travels to Liberty tonight at 7 o'clock. Alec Caberna will be on the call for you there. Edison will go to Beaver Local. Chris Sigler will be heading down the call for that one. Geneva travels to Orange at 7 o'clock. The school has you covered for that one. We want to thank all the great students that are a part of
They're awesome.
that Ysn coverage at Orange. They do a wonderful, wonderful job down there for the Lions. Grand River Academy traveling to Louisville. Bob Burke going to be on the call. This is a big one for the Leopards, welcoming in a very good Grand River Academy team. Bob Burke has a great preview on his Twitter. You can go over to Twitter and find that. But it's
Louisville
a great
just like compiled one of the most insane schedules in the entire YSN network. And it's, independent schedule too. So it's like, we don't need a conference because we'll just schedule some of the best in the entire nation. So
heck, we'll go down to Florida.
Yeah,
and play some of the best
we'll go down to Florida, play some of the best in the nation down there. Let's go.
And we'll win. We'll win the tournament in Florida too.
And win the chip.
Let us win the thing.
Louisville's one of those teams, man. That's going to be a fun matchup too. And Bob Burke, that voice of the Leopards, going to be up again.
Howland will travel to Cardinal Mooney. Noah Ricks will make the trip with the Tigers. This one should be a fun one too. You've seen Howland before. Cardinal Mooney has been up and down this year for sure, but when they're up, they're really up.
They're both teams of similar tales, I think, between the Tigers and the Cardinals. It's turnovers have plagued them in their losses, but when they play clean and they can move the ball efficiently because they've shown spurts that they can. Once they get that consistency, man, they're a fun offense to watch, and they're always good defensively as far as keeping you in front. So two teams play very similar, I feel like, styles, and it should be a fun clash between those two.
And you know what? That was Mooney last year too. Like Mooney's regular season did not go the way they wanted last year. They had a couple of losses that they probably feel like they shouldn't have. They were up and down, but then here comes the tournament time, and they just ran away with the district, and they won the regional semifinals, got to the regional final. So don't count out Mooney just because they're having an up and down regular season. I mean, this team is always kind of mumming along in the regular season, and then all of a sudden when the tournament hits, it's like they have a switch that they turn on. Boom.
That's like Mooney athletics in a nutshell, right? They just we're gonna play some really good competition during the regular season. We'll take our bumps, but the real season starts when the tournament does.
You know why that is, Ty? It's because in every sport they play a schedule that's a lot bigger than what division they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So they're playing all these big football teams. All of a sudden they go down to Division 5 football. It's like, oh.
And whether teams like to admit it or not, you see the name Mooney, and then you take. A lot of teams take a little bit of a step back when they see the team Mooney and they see that's who's matched up with them on the other side. It's one of those cases. I mean, when you garner that respect over years, you earn it, right? Ursuline's got the same effect. Hey, our new team Hoban, they carry a little bit of respect with their name. Yeah, no doubt.
You see those the circus warm-up pants that Hoban is known for, the striped pants. Yeah. I call them circus pants because they look like the popcorn buckets at the end of the circus. But you see those warm-up pants that Hoban always brings out. You're in for a wild ride.
The blue background, the white ink. You see that and it's go time, no matter the sport, honestly.
Back to the lineup for tonight. Indian Creek will travel to East Liverpool. Nate Kelly will be on the call for you with that one. Jackson Milton, they really want this Lowville game. I was talking to Coach Procopio after their last win at home, and he just says they didn't feel like they even played anywhere close to their best game the last time they played Lowville. They think they match up with them pretty well. They think they can handle the physicality that Lowville brings. and they want to prove it tonight. So Jackson Milton really looking forward to this game. We'll see if it pays off for them. Last time they played Louisville dominated the game, so we'll see if it pays off for the Blue Jays as they travel to Louisville. Eric Hughes will be on the call for you there. Jefferson travels to Poland, 7 o'clock. School has that one covered. Lakeview goes to Hubbard. David Williams on the call for you there. Lordstown traveling to Badger. Badger has to bounce back from one of those buzzer beaters that did not go our way on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those. It's just one of the bad tough luck parts of the season. But yeah, Badger should be fine. They've been good all season long. It's one of those cases where it's just a shot didn't fall your way at the last second. I mean,
it's really hard to go 22-0, right? So I mean,
you're
gonna take some bumps if it makes you better for the tournament. Who really cares?
Yeah,
I hate to say that because it sounds like when you say stuff like that, it sounds like the regular season is meaningless, which isn't the point I'm trying to make. But it's everything's a sharpening tool for the tournament. Like it matters. You can't just go out and just get slaughtered every night, but it matters.
The first championship you can win for most teams is the conference, and for the teams that are independent too, that's what they use it as, and that's why you see teams like Louisville not scheduling like cupcake schools and just saying, all right, let's go 22-0, right? Like, I mean, it's a case of scheduling the best competition that best fits the school and challenging themselves because they want to make a tournament run.
Marlington travels to West Branch tonight. Michael Janaki will be on the call for that EBC matchup, 7 o'clock tip-off there. Niles will travel to South Range to try to end the Raiders' 5-game winning streak. Raiders are flying high after their buzzer beater from Nate Lewis on Tuesday to beat Struthers. I will be there on the call from the Thriller Dome.
I think you're bringing some mojo to South Range, and you're
I can't take credit. That was the first time I'd seen him since the winning streak, so I just kept it going.
Yeah,
but like the last 4, I wasn't there for, so
I don't know, man.
Built their own mojo. I'm just trying to keep it going.
I think you were bringing a little bit of that mojo and that South Range alum love to the gym last time.
Sebring will travel to Springfield tonight. Noah Doty will be on the call there. Southern will go to Wellsville. Coy will be on the call down in Tiger Country. East Palestine will host Valley Christian. Tim Figley on the call there. Last but not least, tonight Waterloo will travel to Western Reserve. Richie Giuliano on the call for that one at 7 o'clock.
That'll be
some games will be happening but aren't on the network. Campbell Memorial at Brookfield. Champion will play Newton Falls. Remember, for fans of Champion that are going to this game, Newton Falls has some water damage in their gym, so they are not playing at Newton Falls. This game will be at Lordstown. They're playing their home games at Lordstown for the time being while they try to repair their gym from that winter storm we had back during the holiday break. Garrettsville Garfield will travel to LeBray. Girard will travel to Struthers at 7 o'clock. Mineral Ridge will travel to McDonald at 7. And United will go to Latonia at 7 as well.
A lot of matchups on the network tonight. Some matchups that aren't, but of course you can always catch all the scores on ysnlive.com as we'll keep those updated for you.
Scheduling note as well as Youngstown East and Boardman has been canceled tonight, so that one is not happening. And we also want to shout out that Archbishop Hoban is playing tonight on their boys' side. They will play Cincinnati Taft, so that is the matchup for the Knights tonight as they have their first boys' game under the YSN banner.
Should be fun to see. Can the boys carry on the winning?
Right. Let's go.
Yesterday.
Make us 2-0 with you under the flag. Tomorrow, big game, big time for basketball as well. Badger will play Heartland Christian at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse at 2 o'clock on the girls' side tomorrow. We'll also have Girard at Ursuline at 2:30. That should be a fun one. Matt Marr will be on the call. Girard escaped the upset bid from Lakeview last night. Big win for Girard to try to keep pace. Only one game back in the NE8 right now. Howland will travel
over there like after that one, like, oh, just got out of that.
Howland will travel to Boardman tomorrow. Noah Ricks will be on the call. Boardman has to bounce back from their loss to Canfield and try to keep pace in the AAC for the next time they meet. Perry will be at Edgewood. This is one that I'm so excited for my first trip down to Edgewood. Both teams have one loss in the conference. Perry lost in overtime to Chagrin Falls. Edgewood beat Chagrin Falls earlier last Saturday. And then obviously in the first meeting, Perry beat Edgewood by 4. So this one's going to be a really fun one as the Pirates come to Edgewood conference championship on the line. Well, not championship, but first place on the line in the conference.
You're gonna be chilling in Ashtabula County.
I know. 2:30 is your tip-off. Warriors versus Pirates. It'll be really, really fun.
I'm excited for that one as well. I'll have to tune into you.
West Branch will travel the Cardinal Mooney at 2:30. This is all girls, by the way. We do have boys, but we're starting with girls. West Branch will travel the Cardinal Mooney at 2:30. Michael Janaki will travel with the Warriors for that call. Canfield will host Austintown Fitch. Richie Giuliano on the call there. That's a 7 o'clock primetime tip-off between Fitch and Canfield. And then early, the first game of the day, South Range will travel to Springfield. Noah Doty on the call in the jungle down there. All right, we go to the boys' side. 1:30 p.m. Richie Giuliano taking double duty as he'll call Canfield at Poland at 1:30 on the boys' side. Heartland Christian will play Badger right after the girls' game. Matt Morrison will be down there again at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Akron Ellett will travel to Louisville. Bob Burke will be on the call for you there. Wellsville will be at Beaver Local. Chris Sigler has the call for you on that one. Kansas Central Catholic goes to Warren JFK. Dom O'Brien on the call there. South Range travels to Salem. DJ Yoakley has the call for you there at 7 o'clock. Also playing tomorrow, Valley Christian boys are hosting Medina Christian. That'll be at 3:30. East Canton will be at Sebring tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And then we'll have the Audrey Greenhouse Invitational Wrestling from Orange at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So we have some wrestling on Saturday as well. The Hoban girls are also in action on Saturday as they travel to Bishop Hartley High School down in Columbus to be a part of the Battle at the Nest tournament. They are slated to play Notre Dame Academy from Kentucky at 4:15 in Columbus on Saturday.
Let's teach them what Northeast Ohio is all about down there. Why don't we?
Flex on them. So that's what the Saturday looks like. You got a Saturday off, Ty. How'd you pull that off?
I mean, I guess it was just nature of the schedule and how it worked out.
You want to come down to Ashtabula, do a game with me?
No, I think I'll listen to you.
Oh, boo.
Ashtabula. I think I'm actually scheduled to work the other job, honestly.
The other job in that red uniform that we don't talk about. We don't they're not a sponsor, so we don't give a plug to that other job.
Yeah, oftentimes too. That's usually what I'm doing, except for Sundays. Sunday's the one day where I pretty much don't do anything. So, but pretty much working the other 6 some way somehow. So,
some way somehow. Ty, what game are you most looking forward to over the weekend, tonight and tomorrow, other than the game that you're at, obviously at Fitch?
I think.
I'm sorry.
I mean, obviously, I said I think your matchup's going to be interesting with Edgewood and Perry. I think that one's going to be fun. I'm also looking forward to seeing how this Fitch girls team that has really started kicking it up a notch and really playing a good brand of basketball plays their second time around against Canfield, where Canfield kind of held the lead throughout most of the game too and kind of just held control with it. I know Fitch is a little bit more motivated and they want to have a better shot at Canfield, at least show them that they can throw a better performance at the Cards. I'm excited to see how they do in that one as well. I'm also excited to just see, honestly, going into these conference matchups now, they're going to be bigger. Every single one of these matchups now. Season's starting to wind down. Conference matchups are bigger. Even if the teams that are out of the conferences, these are upset. This is when teams are on high upset alert, right? When midway point of the season, you're starting to get a little bit tired. I'm excited to see these conference bouts continue on the network.
Should be a fun time. We're actually overtime.
Yeah.
Nobody even noticed. Got so lost in the conversation. That happens. We get excited about sports here on Running Point. So we're going to cut us off. We're going to say goodbye. We're going to let Power Hour have the next hour from 3 to 4. But Ty, great job today. Thanks for coming on. And everyone, we'll see you on the new week on Monday. Enjoy all the weekend of basketball. YSNlive.com/live is where you can find all the games.